Hi there, YouTube. Excuse the construction noise. They are building a new playground next to the school, so there's probably going to be construction noise for the next couple of videos. But today I want to tackle just a couple of different things. It's going to be in some separate videos, but in this video in particular, I want to plant this Japanese magnolia where I currently have a rose tree. I have a love-hate relationship with rose trees. In my area, they do not do well in the landscape. I've never seen one tree rose in someone's landscape in my neighborhood or in northern Colorado just sitting out in the landscape. I've seen them in pots at people's houses, which leads me to believe that people are probably overwintering them somewhere because rose trees just end up dying out. The tops of them always die out. The rose tree that I had, it made it through the winter just fine. The problem is that in Colorado, winters here can have like a really, really late freeze. So like it can be May and sometimes we can get a freeze and sometimes it can literally snow. I mean, that's not often, but it can happen, and it definitely happens in April. So what happens is the rose trees end up budding out, and then the winter comes and it kills off all the buds. And then you essentially just have a dead rose tree. I love the idea of having a rose tree, but I don't like the idea of overwintering a rose tree. One, because it's literally just a stick of thorns. Like, I don't want to bring something thorny inside of my house. Two, they're just dying. So I guess it's time to replace it. And I think that this magnolia is the perfect thing. This right here is the 1 gallon Ann Magnolia that I purchased. It blooms with like light pink flowers. I did notice I ordered this online and it does have some black spot. So I hope that that's just, you know, temporary from shipping or whatever. It has a lot of new healthy looking leaves, so I think that it's totally fine. But we're gonna plant this where that dead rose tree is. It gets to be about 10 to 12 feet tall and wide, which I think is gonna be perfect for the space because it almost has a vase shape and it takes well to pruning. So you can basically prune this into whatever shape you wanna have it. I'm gonna have this planted next to the street. So I know I'm gonna have to do some pruning on it to ensure that it's not like blocking cars or anything like that. But by getting 10 to 12 feet tall, I can let it get tall and do some pruning on it, and then hopefully it'll just kind of be like this arching, branching, large shrub tree, because it's not that big, but it is big enough to where I would classify it as a tree. I'll throw a picture of a couple of Ann Magnolias here just so you guys can get an idea of what this tree may look like eventually. And I'm thinking I won't even need the auger for this because I can just plop it into the hole that the dead tree is currently in. But I am gonna need my rose gloves. So weird, and there's no one here. Matt is gone on a work trip. Whew. I never get to see my garage empty. There's literally always a car in here. I keep my rose gloves hanging right up here on the snail. Oh wow, the poppy is in bloom. This is my first time seeing it. I planted a perennial poppy, actually 2 roots of it, here a couple years ago, and I think that every year we pulled it up since because we thought it was a weed, and then this year I finally got to see the bud and I was like, don't pull that. It's so pretty. But this is the dead rose tree, and this is what we're going to replace. And you can see there are no signs of life on this. Nothing. No matter how far back I would cut, there would be nothing. It's just dead. You can tell by the color of the branches. Kind of hoping I don't even need a shovel for this. Let's see. Got it. I don't feel like I really got all that root ball, but I got most of it. Whenever you deal with roses, please wear rose gloves. I made that mistake just yesterday. I was doing some pruning on a climbing rose, and I still have the thorn in my index finger. I'm so excited about having magnolia because I'm from Mississippi originally, and that's our state flower / tree. And here in Colorado, not a lot of magnolias grow. So I had to choose one of these Japanese types because the standard ones that I'm used to in Mississippi with the big white blossoms just aren't hardy here. But I feel like this will be nice and still give me that magnolia fragrance. That's the thing I love most about magnolias, is how fragrant they are. That literally fit in this hole perfect. And there's already a dripper here. I'm just gonna make sure to open it up a little bit extra since it's first season. And that's it, it's planted. Just look at this. This Veronica, I grew this from seed. It's bigger than that magnolia, but one day that magnolia will be hopefully taller than the fence and a nice big vase shape that takes up all this space right here. Oh yeah, and while we're here, look at my Verbascum. This is Southern Charm Verbascum. It is so pretty. I love it so much, and I love that I have like a nice big drift of it. And one last thing I want to show you guys that I'm really proud of. Look at that. That is my Flamethrower Redbud. This is its second year in the ground. It does not even look real. I have so many people stop and ask me about this. It is so pretty. It's everything that I dreamed of, and I cannot wait for this to get bigger so that I can see it beyond the fence. It's almost there. Next thing I want to do is plant up the last of these containers. I have this one. I think this trough right here, it just has violas, but I think what I'm gonna do is, because this is so shady, it is right underneath our elm tree, have weep down, and it basically just kind of gives an archway to this pathway so that you walk underneath this like weeping elm tree, which I love this tree, but eventually it will have to go because it has to be treated every single year with chemicals. It's a very, very expensive tree to keep. Anyways, I think that I'm just gonna cut these back to make them not so leggy, but I'm just gonna leave them in the pot. So I'm not gonna plant this one back up because it is so shady. I think that these plants will do just fine. Plus, look, some of my pansies are blooming in there as well. I have another lion planter that matches the other one flanking this trough. So basically we need to plant up these two lion planters right here. I need to plant up this box right here. I do have some pansies in there, which I think I'm gonna leave because it does get quite shady. Right here, I literally just stuck in some stems of some tidal wave purple petunias, and they literally, I think, are taking, because that has been weeks ago at this point, and they're starting to bloom. So I think I'm gonna leave those in there and just kind of add some more tidal wave purple if I have them. And we have a couple of pansies that haven't bloomed yet, but quite a few that have. And I can't bear to rip them out, particularly because this stays fairly shady. This tree is so big and mature. It provides a lot of shade to this courtyard area. You can see the damage from the elm beetles right there. But after it gets sprayed, the leaves are totally normal and fine. The treatment, though, is like $165 a year, I think. And we cannot even skip it. Like, if we skip it, the owner of the property before us told us that this tree would just die. Well, the descendants of him, because he was dead, but they were very stern, and that kind of haunts my memory. Treat this tree every year. It will come down and destroy your house, because it is very close to our house. So it's at that point where I don't have many trays left, thank God, because I really wanted everything into the ground the end of last weekend, but that did not happen. But it's getting to that point where now I don't really know what I have, and I really need to scrounge around and see what exactly do I have to put in these containers. See a couple of good contenders right here for those shady lion containers. There's a coleus right there. There's a couple of flowering sunset kales right there. I think that they would do fine in the shade. I also have these geraniums that are super leggy. I need to just throw them into a pot. Don't know if I have any more of those purple petunias, but I have tons of pink, it looks like. Oh yeah, and I have 2 more urns on the side of the house that we have to plant up too, so those may go into that. I have some red and white petunias over there. I think I'm gonna plant those in the trough container because they won't get too big. They're just regular wave petunias, and red and white will be pretty with that magenta. It'll just be red, white, and magenta. I think that that'll be really pretty. I have some extremely leggy, dead looking, almost double petunias right here. These are double pirouette, I think is what they were called. Rose pirouette. That's what they are, rose pirouette. I have some chives. Ooh, I may plant some chives in those urns too. Chives with the pink petunias. Oh yeah, that'll be a vibe. Okay, things are really starting to come together. I'll show you guys what we end up doing. All right, here's what I've come up with. Let's have 4 hanging baskets right here that I'm going to fill with petunias. This is the flag wave mix, so they're going to be red, white, and purple. I don't know which one is which. These are cuttings, and I really don't know what color they're going to be, so it'll be very, very interesting. This is my first year planting in these. I got these at an estate sale, and I had to line them with a cocoa liner, and I'm going to hang them up above here, right around our porch. We had other hanging baskets that we used to use, but I just wanted to switch it up this year. And there's already drip up there with emitters that drips down, so I won't have to worry about watering them. In the matching line containers, we're kind of pushing it because this is part shade, almost full shade. But I have a red petunia from the flag wave mix, and then I have 7 leggy geraniums that I'm going to cut back and hope that they flush out and are beautiful. I have a flowering sunset kale on the side, and then I have a purple millet grass in the center. I'm gonna repeat the same thing over here. And in this container, I just added a bunch of stuff. I did a couple of the flag wave petunias in red and white, alternating. I also did the burgundy star petunia, tidal wave petunia. It's right here just to add a little bit of sparkle. And I'm gonna leave all of the pansies and violas in there just for fall interest, and because I'm just not so sure how this is going to do because it's my first year planting up this planter as well. Got it at an estate sale as well, and yeah, this thing is really, really expensive. Online it said that it was like $850, which I can see why. It's big. It's a really, really big planter. But I'm so glad to have it, and I'm so curious to see how it does this year. And one final container I forgot about was this one by the garage, and I have a couple of cups full of cuttings from dahlias that I took, and they're definitely rooted in there. There are lots of nice roots in this cup. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and just plant them here and see what happens. That wasn't the best thing in the world to do, but I'm just going to plant them here and see what happens. Urns on the side of the house, I decided to do a pink shockwave petunia, a double pirouette rose petunia, and then a white easy wave flag mix petunia. So it'll be pink and white all the way around. And then I'm doing purple chives in the back. So that'll be like little purple ball blossoms all in the back with the pink and white blossoms. Did the same thing for the matching urn on this side as well. And then in this container, we're gonna rip out the boxwoods and plant this pumpkin on a stick plant, which I'm super excited about. I've had these seeds for 2 years, never grown them, and I'm growing them in this copper pot because I think it'll be really neat to hopefully pull this out around Halloween time as one of our decorative pieces up on the front porch. And I just realized I purchased these so late last season that these are not on drip. So now I've got to empty the containers, add drip tubing to them, the whole thing. I'm just gonna do this off camera and get this all done, and then I'll show you guys the final result. Actually, this is a valuable lesson I think that we can all learn from. I'm gonna show you guys how to set up a pot properly for the rest of the season so that it's already connected to drip. You don't have to worry about it. And here's why you want to do this to begin with. If you don't, you're going to have drip tubing sticking up outside, and it's just going to look ugly when you can make it look a lot more seamless if you go ahead and do it when you first get the pot. For example, my drip tube is coming out of this supply line right here. It's a 1/2-inch supply line. It goes to a 1/4-inch line. The only way that I could do it, because I already had this pot filled up, was to tuck it over the top, which does not look the best. If I would have done it when it was empty, I could have put this tube up through the hole and it would have just looked a lot more professional, which is why we're gonna empty out these pots and do that. Excuse the AC noise, but I take a nice long piece of this 1/4-inch drip tubing and it goes in the hole in the bottom of your urn or planter. Okay. Now that you've got it in there, place it back. And now you have a drip tubing to connect into to add your emitter tubes, which I think I actually need to order more of, but basically you would add a coupler here, add your tubing with emitters in it, or you could also just add an emitter. That's probably what I'll do, is I'll just add an emitter to this, and that's what will water this entire pot. And then down here at the bottom, all I'm gonna do, snip the tubing and add one of these couplers to it. For the final step, all I gotta do is just add an emitter to this. And it's ready to receive water. There we have it, all 3 urns planted up. 1, 2, and 3. And I will come back in with some landscape staples to get those emitters down. But I'm glad to have them finally set up correctly. Lion planters are planted up with geraniums, petunias, and kale. Same for that lion planter over here. And then the big planter has tons and tons of petunias. And that's pretty much all I wanted to get done for this video. There's one urn back there in that patio area that I didn't tackle, and it was because I don't have any soil for it, so I have to go get some soil. So I'll tackle that at some other time, but basically I think I'm just gonna put the tidal wave purple petunia in there and call it a day. It feels good to have all my containers done, and all shrubs that I've ordered are in the ground except for one. I have one in the kitchen. As I was saying it, I was like, dang it, I did order a quince at the last minute. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys around for whatever video I come up with for next time, because it is hot. It's about 92 degrees outside, and I'm gonna go inside, grab some water, cool down, and then probably come back out here because I really want to plant some sunflowers. Bye guys.